Remember, the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot. I know of no reason the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. Welcome to Critical Thoughts. This is November 5th of 2016. I am your host, Braxton Smith, here today to talk for a moment about, in this case, V, and ultimately I voted the other day. I was going to talk a little bit about that. But first, just so you know, V for Vendetta, the character from that movie, the protagonist, was based his whole ideology on this one guy, Guy Fawkes, of all people, who was a Protestant that wasn't so pleased with the current government that was in favor of the Catholic movement and actually persecuted the Protestants. And I think what V rather found most intriguing about Guy was that he was an individual willing to sacrifice everything. Granted, he failed, but he was willing to sacrifice everything to achieve his message, which was to bring down the establishment at all costs. So anyways, with that being said, yesterday I went and voted, and I went forth and I sent a message out. I didn't care about all the identity politics, all the populism going on, with Hillary Clinton, for example. It's like I view just my own perspective, looking at the people who vote for Hillary. I feel that you are either misinformed and somehow got caught up in all the populism from all the media out there spewing all this propaganda nonsense, and that you have to vote for Satan. God forbid you vote for a misogynistic, racist bigot. Vote for Satan in lieu of that. Or you vote for Trump because you fear World War III. You fear nuclear war because Hillary Clinton has come out and said that she will totally back up World War III. She wants war with Russia. As she said, she absolutely wants war with Iran, which ultimately would lead to war with Russia. I get that. I don't bash anybody that votes Trump. I think you sold out your principles, but I understand you giving in to fear. I get that. And then you have Gary Johnson, who is of the three candidates, he was the correct answer. He's not the best answer, I think, out there ultimately, but he doesn't, he is absolutely against war. He's principled against war. He's principled against infringements on your First Amendment rights and Second Amendment rights. And Donald Trump has come out and said he is actually for more gun control. He doesn't like the idea of all these media outlets that are against him. Granted, they're all stacked against him. I don't deny that. But still, you don't get to say, as president, because you don't agree with me, I'm going to shut you down. That's an infringement of the First Amendment rights. So, again, him and Hillary just have absolutely no clue what the Constitution is all about. So, I can see you going for Gary Johnson. I get that. But as I said before, Gary Johnson is not a very good representation of what the libertarian movement's all about. He sold out on the idea. For one, he endorsed a vice president that is very anti-Second Amendment. He himself, as I said before, is against the idea of freedom of association. We've gone over that. He is anything but libertarian. He's borderline libertarian. But in my opinion, it's fact that Bill Weld, his vice president candidate, has actually been sold out to George Soros, who is funding Hillary Clinton. So he's obviously establishment. You got an establishment candidate for Democrats with Hillary Clinton. You have establishment candidate with Donald Trump and the GOP. Regardless of what you might believe, he was put into place by the Hillary Clinton campaign as the fall guy, the easy guy to knock over. And, worst case scenario, he will still fall in line because he answers to the dollar. And then Gary Johnson with his VP again, giving in to the George Soros dollar. So, what was I left with? Well, like I said, I was going to write in. And I did just that. I wrote in Austin Petersen because I'm not a strategy voter. I don't care about what you vote for. I mean, it means something to me, but at the end of the day, I'm going to vote for the correct answer. I want to vote for Ron Paul, but he's retired. He's past everything. He would have been the best answer. He would have been the next Thomas Jefferson, best president we had in centuries. He's retired. Rand Paul would have been a pretty good guy. But he's running he's our senator. He's up for that seat, so I'm not going to write that in. But the next best option, to send a message to the Libertarian Party, to the Republicans, to the Democrats. None of those candidates. I don't approve of any of them. I approve of this one guy, Austin Petersen. Libertarian Party, you should have ran him. The fact that you didn't run him is exactly why you have a nobody like Evan McMullin. A nobody totally rolling over everybody in about 3 states. It's like Utah, I know, is one of them. He may very well win one of those states. So, Libertarian Party, yeah, done goofed. But I was actually getting into a conversation with one of my coworkers. He was coming to me and he said, think about '92. You had Bill Clinton and George Bush and Ross Perot. You had them. You could have had George Bush, but someone like you voting for nobody like Ross Perot, ultimately that's why we wound up with Bill Clinton. Granted, yeah, that may be true to some extent, but think about it too, though. If you were to take Ross Perot's votes and add them to George Bush's, it still wouldn't have been enough. And then, okay, we settled for lesser of evils and we settled for George Bush, and then we went on to 92 to 96. There you had Bill Clinton versus Bob Dole, of all people, FFS, like shittiest of shitty candidates. And it's like, I've got Bob Dole versus Bill Clinton or Ross Perot. I'm going to go with Ross Perot yet again, out of principle, because, and again, if you were to take Ross Perot's and give it to that shit sandwich that is Bob Dole, it'd still lose to Bill Clinton. But the thing is every time we ultimately we give up our principles and we we vote for this lesser of two evils. We give into this two-party paradigm, and every time it's all they have to do is just provide the lesser of two evils. It's just, this candidate's slightly less shitty than that of the other base, and then you say, then everybody rallies behind this person regardless. And it's like, and I was having this conversation and I was telling the guy, I was like, can you imagine if we just voted for Ron Paul? He would have just completely crushed Bill Clinton. And as I said that, there's a guy walking behind me, random person, and he says, I would have wrote him in. So again, it sends a message. You guys, the populace, and this is why I have so much faith in the people, is like, you guys know what's up. Contrary to what the media is saying out there, people know what's up. I'm a little suspicious of these polls. I think they're fixed. Hillary Clinton is not winning. I don't know of anybody that votes for her. I think you're absolutely naive if you actually would prefer her over anybody. But what concerns me is we get stuck in this whole lesser of two evils paradigm, and ultimately you just keep getting these worse and worse candidates. This is how you end up with somebody like Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler, Mao Zedong, or the next Antichrist. You just keep getting to this point where somehow one party is able to convince that the Antichrist is better than, God forbid, you have a Democrat, or God forbid you have a third party candidate. So I just like to see this paradigm broke. Like I said, ultimately I wrote in Austin Petersen. I'm saying on principle. I'm not basing my vote off of what you're voting. I'm not trying to cancel out your vote. I'm not trying to cancel out anybody's vote. All I'm doing is I'm voting for who is the most qualified person for president. Most qualified, viable person for president. and that would be Austin Petersen at this point, in my own opinion. So if you put in Gary Johnson, that's fine. If you put in Donald Trump, I understand given and feared, but if you put in Hillary Clinton, I gotta kind of wonder about your intellect. But I'm kind of able to empathize with every one of your votes out there. So that's just my own input. If you haven't voted yet, I hope you take in the same idea that you shouldn't base your own opinion off of what the other guy's voting. And it's like I was talking about in my last video. It's like the Joker scenario for Dark Knight. You remember where he has the people in 2 votes. He's got 1 people in the boat that's full of felonious individuals, and you have your average civilians, and he tells them that each of you have a detonator for the other boat. And it's just like right now, we have like people that are like, I'm not voting for Donald Trump, but I'm voting against Hillary. And then you have people that are saying, I'm not voting for Hillary, but I'm voting against that racist bigot Donald Trump. And everybody has their fingers on the detonator. But here in real life, people, you have legitimate fear. You have people that don't give a fuck about the people on the other boat. They're just gonna mash that detonator, and they're gonna sell out that other boat just to save their own asses. I'm afraid that's gonna be the scenario. I hope y'all prove me wrong. I guess we'll find out on November 8th. I honestly think the whole thing might be rigged. Stand by for all sorts of I think it's going to go completely sideways. Ultimately, again, I stand by my prediction. I've been standing by the same prediction for 3 years. Hillary Clinton will be president. Hold me to it. But yeah, I guess you just get out there and vote. Try to prove it otherwise. And if everybody's voting against Hillary, ultimately it'll reveal the fact that there's a lot of fraudulent voting going on, because that's that many more votes they have to offset if they try to rig this thing. So make it that more likely they reveal it. She rigged the primaries, and we've seen time and again all these polls being rigged. With CNN coming out and saying, "Oh well, yeah, Rand Paul did win that poll for the primaries, but Donald Trump's the guy who won anyways." We've seen it time and again. Probably going to see it again. All I ask is that you do not forget what has happened and what has occurred, and you take that and apply it later on whenever you go to make your votes and your decisions later down the path. And that's about all I got for you. As usual, thank you for tapping into Critical Thoughts. We're just here to break through the white noise to bring you the media that matters.